I'm glad to see all of you. Good evening. This is not design. This is your love. We didn't plan this, so you don't think I designed it for myself. It's simply your love. People brought flowers. Thank you very much. We will definitely hand them all out after the lecture. I already mentioned that my grandfather is from the Venetia region. And now such a situation is happening in my destiny that he is helping me by his existence. There is one girl who is involved in this help. Is she here? Her name is Alexandra. Alexandra, are you here? Hall. Yes. No, Alexandra wouldn't answer like that. She's very modest. Well, all right. It seems she didn't come. All right. Well, what is a relationship? When it comes to relationships, this is an incredibly powerful thing. A person has a destiny. It is located in the heart. It is such a mental ball. And inside this ball, there is a soul. I am the soul. Fate is woven from all my past deeds and my desires. Time energy. There is such a force. Time. This is not the time that is shown on the clock. It's the force that moves this world, all of it. It's the biggest, the most powerful energy that exists in this world. Much more powerful than a nuclear explosion, the energy of an atom, an electron, or anything else. All of these energies are under the control of time energy. The energy of time, it stirs up destiny and brings outward the events that must happen now. That's what time does. And what is a relationship? Relationships are an amazing force that highlights destiny or extinguishes it. Let's say I have a certain destiny in this mental ball, and I meet a highly elevated person. Then, the best in my destiny is illuminated, and the worst is extinguished if I build a close relationship with this elevated person. It's precisely about close relationships that I want to talk today. Because if you meet someone on a bus or exchange greetings with someone, it doesn't affect your destiny at all. Destiny is influenced by close relationships. Most people think that close relationships are only between husband and wife, or mother and son, father and son. Yes, those are close relationships. But besides these, there are a few other types of close relationships. These are relationships of deep friendship. These are also close relationships, and also teacher-student relationships. These are also close relationships, and they all have different natures. For example, teacher-student relationships are relationships where there is no external proximity, but there is a very big internal proximity. Is that clear? Although outwardly, these people can be strangers, but inside there is a colossal proximity. You understand? A colossal proximity. And these relationships are the purest, because they don't involve any dirt, any negative fate. They are based solely on purity and elevation. That's it. Nothing else affects them. For instance, if a student starts personally serving his mentor, begins to serve personally, and at the same time maintains this distance between him and his mentor, where he doesn't pay attention to his personal life, his behavior, and only pays attention to his service to God, his self-sacrifice, his dedication. You understand? That is, he keeps the ability to see the purity in the one he's seen it, and nothing more. Then he can serve his mentor all his life and nothing bad will happen at all. But as soon as he begins to evaluate his mentor, to evaluate him, everything gets destroyed at once. This desire to evaluate destroys relationships completely. I mean, these are close and very complex relationships. Most often, people build relationships with their seniors from a great distance. And most often, the seniors do not allow people to approach them to avoid relationship breakdown. Sometimes it happens that both the student and the senior are qualified to build this elevated relationship even while living side by side. But this requires a very high level of renunciation. The senior must be ideal, essentially, and the junior one too in this case. So we are talking about close relationships here. What are close relationships? These are relationships that completely change an entire life. Is that clear? Why do they change it? Not because they change fate. They do not change fate. They simply illuminate something in a destiny and extinguish something else. That's the change. Is this clear? That is, you may not see something in your destiny, but something else is seen very well. These are significant, colossal changes. Why did I immediately start talking to you about the teacher-student relationship, even though today the topic is family relationships between husband and wife in the first place? Only for the reason that the relationship between husband and wife is opposite to the relationship between teacher and student. The relationship between a teacher and a student is the one where a distance is maintained, where people are focused solely on the most elevated aspects in each other, and they don't require anything impure or worldly from each other. You understand? The relationship between a husband and a wife is the direct opposite. It means they are very close. Too close, you understand? This relationship is not directed towards the elevated things. It is tuned to my vital, even animal needs. You understand? It is set up for basest things. On the contrary, it has a nature of very strong bonding, and by its nature the husband-wife relationship highlights all the worst in a person, not the best. A teacher-student relationship by its nature highlights all the best. You understand? That is, a student doesn't even want to look at the teacher's shortcomings if they have the right attitude toward him. Similarly, a teacher doesn't want to focus on a student's shortcomings if he has the right attitude toward them. But the husband-wife relationship is such that its nature compels, forcefully compels. The nature of this relationship forces one to see all the shortcomings of their spouse. Now let's delve into the topic of love. What is love in general? It's an energy that can only move in purity. If you notice someone's flaw, love begins to fade. Notice one more, it dims even more. Notice another one, it dims completely. You understand? And we say, I'm disappointed in you. You understand? Now, the immediate question arises, how can we live together at all? If this is the nature of love between a man and a woman, that extinguishes love itself. That's the point. Therefore, in all sacred scriptures it is written that relationships between men and women by nature are relationships of suffering. In other words, they are naturally inclined towards suffering. They cause suffering in a person. Only suffering comes from that love. Even in mutual love, there is anguish. They live in love alongside their happiness. There's a song about it. You understand? Even in love, there's suffering. In mutual love, there is suffering. Now, you might be thinking, Oleg Gennadievich, we came to this lecture and so many people have gathered. You are saying something odd. We want happiness after all. We came for happiness and here you are talking nonsense. Then why live at all? Life without love is impossible. I agree with everything you're currently thinking. I do. Life without love is impossible. You've come in search of happiness. But to attain happiness, you need to first understand its price. The price lies in the fact that relationships between men and women are relationships of sacrifice, where you must always forgive your close one, endure, and overlook their flaws, in order to preserve love. Because love can only exist in pure relationships. Now, how does love actually arise between a man and a woman? Ladies, you live, you seek happiness, you were born for happiness, for harmony, for relationships. You were born for family, for children. From a very young age, you know this because you are a woman. And you need a husband, right, for this purpose. And God is within every person. Every person is a soul. You understand? A soul has only good qualities. A soul has no bad qualities. The energy of eternity can only exist in purity. Where there is purity, there is eternity. You understand? If there's impurity, there's no eternity. That's it. By nature, the soul is eternal. It means it's absolutely pure by its nature. Is that clear? Do you know why I've just hiccuped? Because a pure soul fed me. I couldn't eat so much without hiccuping. Please forgive me, that's a different topic. Anyway. Try to understand that every soul is inherently very pure. You might say, except for this person? No, even that person is a pure soul. All souls on this earth are pure. And God, when a certain person is assigned to you, for instance, God does that. The Supreme Lord, He resides right in our hearts. What does He do? Let's say a certain person is assigned to you. Why are they assigned? Because you have similar destinies. So He reveals the soul in this person to you, their divine qualities. And you look at this person. Wow. Sings, I gaze at you like in a mirror, to the point of dizziness, and I see my love in you, and I think about it. Let's not focus on the minor flaws in the reflection. Love can last a long time and life is even longer. So you fell in love with a person. Why? Because God revealed the divine in them to you. And it might seem that's all. He revealed the divine, like with children, for instance. God reveals the divine to parents. They see the child. God reveals the divine in a child to them for their whole life. A mother won't see anything else in the child. She may, of course, notice other things, but it won't diminish her fundamental perception. But in a relationship with a husband, it's not the same. If it were like that, then everyone would be happy right now, and no one would have come to this lecture. I wouldn't have a job. If God kept showing this purity and energy in the husband. Just as a mother sees her child, she sees this image of purity, And God keeps this image of purity for the mother throughout her life. Whether he's in prison or anywhere else, it doesn't matter. She still sees this purity. She doesn't believe he's a different person. If God held this image of purity in the husband in the same way throughout life, then no one would divorce and everyone would ultimately be happy. And there would be no personal development. People wouldn't progress because, you see, personal development requires you to overcome yourself, develop, forgive, endure, step over humiliation, and go through all these sufferings. And so God, figuratively speaking, closes the curtain. I mean, initially you saw one thing, but that's only the beginning. It's just the beginning of the summer of our love. But then things don't go the same way anymore. Why? Because God closes the curtain. And you think, Lord, why did I even marry him in the first place? What do I need this for? I married a different person, not this one. I don't need this at all for 100 years. Because there is something divine within a person. There is something divine in a person. And there is also something human. So what is the divine in a person? The divine in a person is their soul. And what about the human in my close person? What human aspect do they have? My dears, I will now reveal a great secret to you. What is human about the loved one God has given me? The human in them is my destiny. Well, everything you see in front of you and lament, oh Lord, that's your destiny. On one hand, this is such a great person, that's my destiny. And on the other hand, he's so irresponsible. How could he say that? How could he think that about me? Destiny doesn't ask, it behaves as it wants. It does what's meant to be done, what's fated. On one hand, there's the divine in a person, right? But on the other hand, there's the human part. In other words, it's my destiny. What does the divine part do? It inspires me. It brings me happiness. It's like a head-spinning experience. It gives me boundless joy and the strength to live, a desire to live from the depths of my being. What does the human part do? It hits me on the head, breaks me, cripples me, and astonishes me. How is this even possible? In other words, it's complete chaos. And so this divine in a person gradually closes before the eyes of a loved one. Well, it lasts for 3 or 4 years, the feeling of love. That's when you see the divine in a person. You're in love with them. You feel good with them. OG singing. I feel good with you in a snowstorm and in pouring rain. In other words, you feel good with the person. OG singing. But this is only the beginning of summer and our love. You understand, just the beginning of summer. So, my dear friends, realize that a close relationship is the greatest challenge that exists in this world. Starting from the teacher-student relationships and ending with the relationships between a child and a mother. It's the greatest challenge. This is what relationships are meant for us to develop, by and large. They are just all different. Some relationships, the purest and most elevated, almost like with God, are the relationships with a mentor. Almost like with God. Many people don't even know that such love exists. Love for a mentor, for a teacher. Many people are not even remotely familiar with this love. It's much more profound than love for a husband or for one's own children. but it exists, this love, and one must strive for it, because the ultimate goal of human life is to find precisely this love. Not love for a loved one, but precisely this love. And if a person had a relationship with a mentor in their past life, they may confuse these relationships with their relationships with their spouse. It's a significant problem. Don't mix up these relationships. A husband is a husband, and a mentor is a mentor. If a woman begins to perceive her husband as a mentor, she loses this person. It's called love-faith. Love-faith for the wrong person immediately destroys everything. Love-faith can only be directed toward a representative of God. That's it. Even if you choose a mentor who is not a representative of God, everything will still be shattered. It's a complex matter, but the relationships between a man and a woman are an incredible field for personal development. A huge field for personal development, because everything can be changed in this relationship. You can avoid giving your destiny the opportunity to pull you down in these relationships. What does destiny do? It manifests itself through a close person, strikes your heart, makes you think about their flaws, pulls you away from love, drags you into the mundane, then into disgust, into aversion towards the person, into animosity, and so on. And it destroys the relationships. That's how destiny acts. But you can choose not to go down this path. You have a choice. So what is destiny? It's something that brings something to light. In other words, what are relationships? It's what illuminates our life. Let's say that's fate. But in our relationships, we have a choice. So for example, destiny might pull us into this turmoil, just like that. That's what destiny does for everyone. Don't think that you're unlucky because someone is pulled down while others are not. You can resist it. That's the essence of it. What is a relationship? So we have a destiny, right? Here at the top of the destiny, it's the brightest and the best. At the bottom of the destiny, it's all the worst. Destiny in close relationships has such a tendency. It always pulls downwards towards the dreadful. But you can resist and oppose this force. And enter that zone within relationships, the zone of purity. This is achieved only through tremendous efforts of will. It's not something you enter simply because you got lucky, as many people wish. OG sings, "My friends are married for a long time, but I keep dreaming of a prince." OG sings, "I've seen him in movies, but in real life I don't know how to find him." OG sings, "So he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and always brings flowers," and so on. This is what we want. Every woman desires this. You can laugh about it or not. Every person wants to deal with a perpetual engine. We want to live forever, right? We don't want to age. That's our desire. We want eternal love, so that you meet someone once and it's fantastic all the time, without any problems. But there is no perpetual engine, and there are no such relationships. Why? Because there's time. It ages a person's psyche and pulls down relationships. That's how time operates, you see. Can a person resist time? And what gets illuminated? First, there's that rainbow-like feeling of finally I found you. You're the best person for me. At first it's all so bright and colorful, right? Then it gradually gets worse and worse. Later it becomes really tough, and you've completely forgotten how you felt when you were in love. You say, well, that was just youth, there was no real love. But if you were transported back to that time now, you'd see that person again in the light in which you first saw them, and you'd understand that there was love. You understand? There was purity in the relationship. It's just that it has become too distant to see now. It existed, it was all there. The lecturer sings, it all existed once, and love was there. But in the song, there's something more being sung. It was, but it passed. You understand, it was, but it passed. Forever or not, it's all unknown. There's choice in it, but most people aren't aware of this choice. So, you see what relationships do. They first illuminate a pure, bright, and fantastic destiny. This is called infatuation or love. And during this time, people simply don't believe that love can have a short life or that something bad might happen. Well, that's all just in the beginning, you understand? And then everything can change. I remembered the song, can't find it. The lecturer sings, "Today I'm so happy that I can't help but sing." With love, songs come to us like friends to a house. Give me back the music. Without music, there's longing. There is no sound, but here there is. It's fascinating. How can that be? I didn't understand the joke at all. Fantastic. And here, the lecturer sings, "And today I'll come to you. 100 roads will merge into one. 100 alarms will fade away, and dawns will flare up. The whole earth will be in bloom." I don't believe that love has a short life. Even time retreats when a person is happy. It's a fact. Time retreats during such moments. Imagine when a person sees a soul in another person. Time retreats, and there's only happiness in their life. Nothing more. They feel good. I feel good with you in a snowstorm or heavy rain, you understand? But this is only the beginning of our summer and our love, because gradually time pulls relationships down. People think that they are unlucky, that something between us is not right. No, it's all predictable. First you see a soul in a person, then gradually you begin to see your destiny in them, because that's God's plan. When a person sees their destiny in another person, they become magnetically attached by it and their heart gets hurt. When it gets hurt, they remember it. They now say, "So that's who you are." In other words, they start thinking completely differently about this person. "I didn't know you liked this before, but now I do." You knew before and you know now. Only you know now, not in the way you should. And you look at this person with pain. This means that your close relationship with them highlights a dreadful destiny in your life. So, how do you determine what destiny you have? Well, you have the same destiny. It's just that in your life, you have close relationships, and close relationships, my dear friends, are not an easy thing. You see, it's a tremendous force that directs life in a certain direction. These are close relationships. So, if you have close relationships and you only see the bad in a person, then your life is like hell. Now, if you have close relationships and you start seeing the soul in them, your life becomes like paradise. The same life, the same destiny, the same person, everything's the same, but that brings massive changes in your life. But seeing the soul in a person who drinks, abuses you, and all that is very challenging, practically impossible. So, in these cases, when there's chaos, you need to distance yourself from the person. You understand? Because they will consume you, destroy your life. So you need to understand that close relationships are always close, but destiny acts through them differently. For example, if a person works on themselves, wants to change, prays, makes an effort, believes in such a path, and follows it, listens to my lectures, runs, exercises, toughening themselves, changes their diet, repeats, I wish happiness to everyone, I wish happiness to everyone. Well, they live this way. It means they are moving upwards, developing as a person, becoming better. So if you keep such a person close to you and try to attune yourself correctly to them, it will be easy for you to do so. You'll easily feel their soul, their purity, and it will be easy for you to change your life with them. Well, easy is a relative concept, you know. I mean, it's much easier than with others. Not like it's a piece of cake, but still it's better. Well, you see, even if we talk about these good people, if a person doesn't know how relationships are built, they think that relationships should just naturally work out for everyone. Well, they won't work out on their own. The earth naturally ages, the body naturally ages. Can relationships naturally become younger? No, nothing will naturally get better in this world. Everything needs to be changed for the better, striving for improvement. Well, people mostly say, hello, is everything okay with you? Everything's fine. Well, okay then. I mean, everyone is waiting for everything to be fine on its own. Everyone wants to live like that. But my dear friends, well, nothing is fine here on its own. Where have you seen that? I mean, does anything just happen on its own here? They say that cars can drive themselves now, but still someone made that model, right? Someone is controlling that model. Nothing is fine here on its own. Someone always has to put in some effort. The same goes for relationships. Don't believe in eternal love, that you'll find someone with whom you'll be eternally happy, or at least better than with this one. You see, we can't find such a person for ourselves because when we find someone and think that we found them, it's actually God who finds them for us, and He highlights that person for us. You might say, Oleg Gennadievich, fine, let's clarify this if God finds them. Look, my acquaintance left his wife. God found him a girlfriend, and they're so happy together while she is suffering. Where's the justice in that? So, what about God? If He found this girlfriend for him, with whom he's enjoying himself in happiness while his wife is suffering, well, then it means God didn't find this girlfriend for him? No, God found her. Then why, Oleg Gennadievich, why did He find her for him? He has His own plan. Let's say, how can we make a man suffer greatly for leaving his wife? To do that, you first need to make him fall in love with someone else. Otherwise, he won't suffer much. Then, when he's deeply in love, suddenly and unexpectedly he gets dumped, and he gets his punishment for leaving his wife. That's the plan. You might say, maybe it won't happen like that? Well, live and see. If you've left someone, it will happen that way. God has His plan, but you don't always see this plan immediately. One woman, and I'm telling you this for a reason, a woman in Minsk said to me, Oleg Gennadievich, well look, I have a friend. She left her husband, then gave birth to 3 children with someone else, and they have a good life. Why can't my daughter leave her fool? She asked me this yesterday in Minsk. But I scolded her and told her that there are certain complexities in that family she mentioned. I didn't specify what, so they wouldn't think I cursed someone. And I believe that God must show this woman the truth. Imagine, literally an hour later, during lecture, another woman starts talking to me. She says, I left my husband for this man. We had 2 children together and one of them died. Is that normal? And she says to me, I understand why, for leaving my husband with 2 children. Can you imagine how tough that is? So don't leave then. Don't think that it won't happen to you. You see, there are laws. Do you understand? There are certain patterns in this world, and we've committed so many wrongdoings in the past, so many bad deeds. That's why in this life, we don't even have the right to know about our past lives. Can you imagine? We were born in such a way. There are higher births, you know, not on earth, but in other worlds, The Vedas tell about this, that there are births where people know, living beings know about their past lives and understand what they are being punished for. It's easier to live that way, but we're not even worthy of that. We are born and don't remember anything from our past because we are not worthy of that knowledge, you see. And then some terrible things happen to us. So a person's fate is like this, right? Let's say there's a good period, but family relationships gradually deteriorate. That's their nature. And a person doesn't want that. They stick to their principles. She says, he should understand my truth. You see, a man will never understand a woman's truth because it's a completely different realm of the universe entirely. It's impossible. A woman can't understand a man's truth either. Their psyche is entirely different. My wife tries to prove to me that I shouldn't behave like this. Today, she was watching me eat because I always end up making a mess when I eat. She hangs on me one thing and then another. I started feeling suffocated. I was eating and thinking, she's not letting me eat properly. She doesn't feel like she's stopping me from eating. On the contrary, she thinks she's helping. She has her truth, you understand? And I have mine. I just want to eat. I don't care if my shirt gets dirty or not. But she does care. She doesn't want to see her husband eating messily. It's disgusting to her, especially when we're at someone else's place. That's how she perceives it. She can't accept it at all. And she hung that bib on me because a tiny stain had already formed there, one I didn't even notice. And it's very important to her because she sees things very clearly, with a highly detailed perception of reality, especially when it's messy, in a woman's case. I couldn't care less about that little stain. I wanted to eat. I've just shared a small funny scene from my personal life with you. Sometimes it can be worse. Of course, this scene didn't cause me terrible suffering. I put on the bib and continued eating. That's it. It's funny for everyone, of course. What can you do? My dear friends, try to understand that we are entirely different. This always complicates relationships for everyone. There's one more thing that complicates relationships. I'll talk about it a bit later. This thing is called the desire for happiness. In close relationships, who will I desire happiness from? From this person. And remember, any desire for happiness for oneself by itself completely ruins a person's life. Simply put, I want happiness from this person. It means that not a stone will be left unturned in my pursuit of happiness. Imagine this right now, in this lecture, if I were to want you to listen to me attentively. Hello, dear friends. You can no longer listen attentively. You see, I've just given a simple example. If I want something from a person, it already creates tension. And in close relationships, if I want something, the tension is 10 times stronger. And if I not only want, but also say things like how women do, speak to me more gently, even more gently, even more gently. How can love continue like this? and I'm already feeling abnormal. Clouds reflect in the river, and now I'm gazing at the river. Suddenly, I feel the gentle touch of my beloved's hand holding mine. It's like our discord is forgotten, but now I'm very upset. You're hiding something, stayed silent for half a day, so now I'll remain silent too. This is a common theme. So, my dear friends, the first thing you must understand is not that you have such a bad fate. Your fate is good. But due to your foolishness, you entered into close family relationships. Because if you were wiser, you would have become monks and built relationships with a mentor. Relationships with a mentor, by their nature, are pure and elevated. There is no sin, no pulling down there. If you simply love your mentor, believe in him, you live in that happiness and never come out of it. Now, my dear friends, find those in this world who understand this, that you just need not want anything here, and simply think of God. That's it. And be happy, and there will just be endless happiness. The same destiny, a person has the same destiny, but it operates at the pinnacle of perfection of this destiny. That happens precisely with such a decision. I'm talking to you about this because when it comes to these matters, I'm as dumb as a sheep. If I understood them, I would have entered a monastery. But I don't understand them to the extent of entering a monastery, but I understand them enough to tell you something. So when a person chooses family relationships, it means there will be challenges. And don't be surprised by this because you're choosing personal happiness. If a person has forsaken personal happiness, they serve God. There will be no challenges. And these pure relationships are awaiting them where they live. They live in purity, this person, if they desire that purity. Because life in a monastery can be even more challenging. If a person has forsaken this pure view of the world while living in a monastery, they will live in hell because they won't have neither personal life nor spiritual life. They won't have any life at all, you understand? That's why going to a monastery is risky. What if you can't live in such an elevated way and then you'll have your own hell? A much greater hell than people have in family life because a person essentially has nothing. In other words, they've forsaken life, both spiritually and materially. So family life, this is our lot. We are like this, not so elevated. We desire personal happiness, and in this desire for personal happiness, we gradually evolve. Because when does a person become happy in their personal life? It's when they no longer have that desire. One of my acquaintances went to his mentor and said, "Master, I have accepted everything from my wife. Time has passed, you know, and I no longer desire anything from her at all. I fulfill all my duties towards her, treat her kindly. Maybe I should go to a monastery." He told his mentor. His mentor replied, "Are you a fool or what? Now is the time for you to live a happy life because you no longer desire anything from her." And he said, "Stay with your wife, a little time will pass, and you will be happy in your relationship with her." And so it happened. So, I predict to all of you, at the moment when you no longer desire anything from a loved one and at the same time serve them and have no desire to leave them, at that moment you will find complete happiness in your relationship with them. But it's very difficult, my dear friends, because to be so selfless means to be filled with God, and therefore there is no other way in life. You see, there is only one path, the path to God, whether you are a family person or not. Because if you have filled yourself with God in your personal life, and this function of wanting happiness for myself has ceased to exist, and you start living for others, for your loved one, giving them happiness, then you have passed all your exams on this earth. And it doesn't matter if you're a family person or not, you will be happy. What does it mean to be happy? You will have pure, bright relationships with your wife. You will see her as a soul. You will have pure love, elevated relationships, not only in this life. You see, not only in this life, but also in the next. Can't I turn on a single song on this topic? Let's check now. These verses were written by Rabindranath Tagore for his wife when he was departing from this life. And he knew that they would reunite with her. He would reunite with her in the next life, and he told her this because conversations with loved ones have a subtle, metaphorical nature. But to make a loved one understand something, you don't need to intimidate them because relationships are very delicate. That's why he spoke to her in verses telling her that he would depart from this life, that his love has such power that it will draw her to him over time. When she gets older and approaches the end of her life, she will suddenly remember him, her husband, and come to him. And what a person remembers at the moment of death, they go there in the next life. This last memory is the essence of their entire life. He remembered the most important thing and told her that we have already passed our exams and we will definitely meet in the next life and be happy together. Don't worry. And now he says, has the wind scattered my old name? It means my name has become old to you, and soon you won't hear it anymore. I have no road back to my past land. So you see me now, but I'm practically not here anymore. If you try to see me from afar, go to my grave, and somehow think that I've died, then in this case you will never see me at all, because I live right in your heart. There's no tombstone. I mean, a person, the soul, departs from this life and moves on, and the grave merely holds the body that remains there. The body has a connection with the soul, but it's not the same. You think that this person no longer exists, but he does. You need to remember him through the heart. So, if you try to see from afar, you won't discern me. You see, to perceive a loved one who has departed from life, you can only do so through the heart. You don't need to consider them deceased. They are alive. I can prove this to you 1,000 times. I can directly see a person who died through the one who remembers them. I can describe their character traits and so on. And he tells his wife, I had many births before this one. We are like waves in the ocean, sometimes meeting and sometimes parting. You see, but with you, we will meet again, absolutely.
Однозначно.
I know that someday, from the distant shore of the distant past, a springtime night wind will bring you my breath. Look, take a look if anything is left of me. in the midnight of oblivion on the far outskirts of your life. Take a look without despair. Take a look without despair. Will the shape of the unknown image, as if accidental, flicker and be recognized? Will the shape of the unknown image appear as if by accident? This is not a dream. This is not a dream. This is all my truth. This is the truth. The conquering eternal law defeating death is my love. It's my love. It's my love. It's my love. They were lucky, weren't they? Compatibility is good, right? No, it's not about compatibility. The toil of the soul has created such relationship. The toil of the soul has created such relationships. We all have compatibility. All souls are beautiful by their nature. Every person has compatibility. A holy person sees everyone as pure and radiant. By the way, a holy person has such strong love for all people, you see, close relationships with everyone, because they see the soul in everything. It's not a cheap thing. It requires one to strive towards it. So close relationships. We already understand that these relationships are inherently powerful. They contain a destructive force, and time itself extinguishes love. In other words, time extinguishes infatuation. You lose infatuation with a close person over time. Furthermore, we have a strong desire to enjoy the person. This desire hinders the flow of destiny's energy of love. Imagine love is like a train. You see a train. And let's say there's sand spread on the tracks, something blocking the train's movement. It's this sand obstructs the speed at which the energy of love can develop, but we want it to develop. It's our desire for happiness from a loved one. So, for example, I want happiness from them, and it obstructs the progress of love because love, by its nature, is selfless, devoid of desires. It only has the desire to give, to make the loved one happy, without expecting anything in return. Now, the immediate question arises. Why do I have this desire for personal happiness? If I want to love on one hand, but on the other hand, this desire has emerged. This is why we ended up in this world where we live, because we have an incorrect understanding of what love is. If we had the right understanding, we would have ended up in the eternal world where there is no suffering. Because when a person only wants to serve everyone close to them and doesn't want anything for themselves at all, from that moment on, they cannot suffer at all. They will simply live eternally in an eternal world, that's all. This means they are saints. And this is the goal of human life, such a life. We should gradually come to this. This is why God has arranged everything here so cleverly. On one hand, there is love. He says, here you go, love this person. There's love, there's family, there are close relationships. But on the other hand, there's such a challenge. Why? Because you need to pass the exams. You need to get rid of the desire to indulge in this person. And people say, I no longer want anything from them at all. What should I do? From this moment on, start serving them. But how do I serve him at all? That jerk, he has quashed all my desires. This was actually his goal in life, to quash all your desires. And he actively engaged in it throughout his life. Funny, isn't it? But it's true. And to us, this truth seems so unfair. But in reality, this happens because God wants us to learn how to form the right desires. He wants us to learn to be selfless. There's one more very important point, my dear friends, very important. This point is that we will not accept our fate for anything. We won't agree that I am worthy of exactly this, not for anything. We think, well, I deserve something better. It's just terrible, Oleg Gennadyevich, I'm an exception. I deserve something else, not this. This is absolutely absurd. My dear ones, wisdom means accepting that this absurdity is, in fact, it's you in your past or even previous life. Don't believe me? I can easily prove it to you right now. If it weren't the case, you wouldn't have ended up here on Earth. Those people who did something else in their past lives, they go to paradise. But we're not in paradise. This isn't paradise, you see, here on this earth. Here, earth means a place where you get what you got, even though you wanted something else. We all want something else, but it doesn't change anything. Isn't that right? So what can you do? In Ukrainian. Did I say it correctly? No?
Audience, Robert, Ukrainian, what can you do? Og, my grandfather was Ukrainian. Audience, a Ukrainian, emphasizing I. When I came to Odessa for the first time, I said, "Ah, Odessa." They said, "Odessa, Oleg Gennadyevich. You see, I don't know everything. There are things you know better than me, but what can you do?"
Show Robert, Ukrainian, what to do. Lecturer is singing, start anew, even if it's not going well at the moment. Well, it's not about starting with a new person, it's about the same person. You see, relationships are a tremendous force. They change everything, because they tune destiny in a particular way. Let's say destiny could have been tuned differently, but it tuned to this one. Can we retune it? Yes, we can. How? Through this person? No, because I'm already tuned to them like this. You understand? You can't just pull yourself out of the swamp by the neck. I'm already tuned to him like this. Oleg Gennadyevich, I can't look at him any differently. I think about him, and I'm shivering. I can't live with him, Oleg Gennadyevich. I can't. I agree. So you know, there is a way out. To do this, you need to simultaneously develop other relationships. These relationships are not sinful. If you were developing a parallel relationship with another man, that would be a sin. But developing relationships with a holy person, with holiness, with an icon, sacred scripture, or a holy book is not a sin. It never interferes with close relationship between people. Some people start to become jealous. Where are you going? Why do you go there? Who are you looking for there? Someone who is not a competitor to you. God is not a competitor to anyone because he is already the closest. He already lives in the heart of everyone. The one she is looking for already lives in her heart, right there, closer than you. And you will never get as close as God is to us. Never, no one will get closer. When we say, I can't take it anymore, who are we talking to? There's no one around. To God. Or let's say joy arises in the heart. Who sends it? He does. He is constantly there and constantly helps us in our lives. We don't know anything about it at all. God sends knowledge to the heart of a person if they are worthy. And if they are not worthy, He sends an illusion into the heart. What one is worthy of, that is what He sends. If a person is oriented towards holiness, their relationships with close people immediately start to change. This happens imperceptibly, because relationships themselves are the most inflexible thing in one's destiny. It's impossible to notice that something is changing, but it can be noticed. However, what you will notice won't be what you wanted. For example, if I were to ask any of you right now, whose relationships have changed? You started listening to lectures, changing yourself. Your relationships have definitely changed. Raise your hand if your relationships have changed. Now, raise your hand if you feel that this is exactly what you wanted. A few people raised their hands. That's fine. There are such people. I agree. But it's a great feat, you see, to get in your relationships what you wanted so badly, to change everything like this. It's cool. Mostly people change, but they don't know how much effort it takes to achieve such a result. It's like digging out snow and thinking that there's a small pile, but it's so dense that it turns out to be 3 times bigger. It just seemed small to you. Relationships themselves have a very dense nature, you see, because they are our destiny. Destiny accumulates over many lifetimes. It's not like I can just clear it all up now and receive happiness, you understand? I've accumulated a lot over many lifetimes, everything that's happening inside me. What does a close person do to me? But it's not all that bad, my dear friends. As soon as a person sets on the right path, they start trying to see holiness in everything. You understand? That's what needs to be done. You need to detach yourself, distance yourself from the close person. Because what does destiny do? It initially causes pain. Your memory becomes attached to this pain. As soon as you become attached to the pain, you start seeing this person even worse. Worse, 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 and it's endless. You begin to shout, "Become better. I can't live with you like this." And when you shout, they become even worse. And all of this leads to the complete destruction of relationship. It's just a vicious circle. There's no salvation in it. And in the scriptures, this style of destiny is described as a destiny that destroys both the person and the relationship. It acts in this way through a person's memory of pain. The pain in a person's life keeps increasing. They become attached to the pain. Pain is such a force that anchors you. At some point, a person can't even sleep. They can't fall asleep anymore because they're thinking about the pain in their relationships. That's how fate works. It's not the person acting this way, you see. You think it's the person who made you feel this way. It's fate acting this way. Fate arouses such emotions in a close person that it pricks you. You feel it and you remember it. Then you become more attached to the negativity. Negativity plunges you into a heavy life because relationships lead a person somewhere. Remember this. This is the tremendous power of relationships. We underestimate this power. It's a formidable force. It leads a person somewhere. That's why in ancient cultures people didn't watch any nonsense, because they were afraid of getting deeply immersed in it. People watch TV and wait for that moment when this movie will take them somewhere. They don't even care where, as long as it's not here. You understand? Because we don't realize the danger. If you become attached to someone like Schwarzenegger or anyone else, or to some avatar, you gradually turn into a monkey. Because your life is heading in that direction. Any strong attachment to someone, be it an actor, artist, or a person from a movie, it all changes your life. Unfortunately, not for the better, because these artists often don't live the right way. and you specifically attach yourself to them, consider them your idols. And this means you're once again steering your destiny in the wrong direction. Because true fortune has a hidden, subtle, pure, and profound nature. For instance, here in Kiev, you have an enormous amount of fortune. Enormous. Maybe there's no other city in the world like it. Well, or there's hardly any other city like it in the world. How much fortune would there be in this city where you live? Because right now, I'm talking about sanctuaries. You see, they are not visible. For example, can you see this fortune or not? No. To see it, you need to believe in it very strongly because it's not cheap. If you wanted to, you could go and see these relics of holy people, and it would strike you, you understand? A drop of communion with holiness changes a person's entire life. I'm telling you this not because I want to persuade you of something. It's my life experience. When I started to sense my past lives, I couldn't understand what was driving me to give lectures, forget about my life, constantly travel, and give knowledge to people. What was pushing me? What is it? What kind of force is this? I began to pray and search. I found it. About 7 or 8 lifetimes ago, I saw it in my destiny. I saw it like a flash of lightning. I met a very elevated person. He simply radiated love for God. And this meeting lasted very briefly, maybe half an hour, I don't know, well, a little while. You see, this one meeting completely transformed my heart, but it didn't work immediately. It took many lifetimes. I mean, this memory of holiness, it's indestructible. It lives in a person's heart and gradually emerges when a person loses interest in what they see before them. It comes out, reveals itself, and starts pulling them upwards more and more strongly. Therefore, the purpose of human life is to strive for holiness, to those people who have found this burning force of love for God. We want love after all. We've dreamed of love our whole lives. This is love. You see, we just think that it will come from a man or a woman. It doesn't come from that source. It comes from a higher source that is not visible to the ordinary eye. To see this love, one must do something for holy people. Hence, there is a process of serving a spiritual life that most people don't even realize it exists in life at all. But it does exist, and it exists strongly. So to change the relationship with a close person, the pain must become weaker. Let the pain and sadness, the burden of past special mistakes, press down to the bottom. Do you understand? A person must rise against the memory of the tragedy of their life. A person must rise against the memory and go where there is purity, lightness, joy, depth, and elevation. It's a temple. What kind of temple, Oleg Gennadyevich? Your temple, yours. In your faith. I mean, God lives everywhere. People just invent. They say, in our faith, God has given me the real thing. Everywhere else, it is unreal. And for the person who invents it, it's the absolute truth. But for another person, to whom God has also given the real thing, it's the same reality. This can only be compared to one thing, or rather one phenomenon in life. A mother, for example, looks at her child and says, "This is the most real, this is the best thing that can exist on this earth." And another mother thinks the same about her child. Don't think it's less. Just like mothers think about their children, All believers are convinced that their faith is better than others. But if you want to be rational people, you shouldn't fall for these provocations. If you have your own faith, then stick with it and think that way. But don't think that other faiths are worse. Although it's impossible to understand. God grants a person immersion in only one faith, if there is such immersion at all. If not, then you're not lucky. So my dear friends, try to understand one thing. The pain from relationships can only be removed by God. Neither another man, nor another woman, nor television, nor a bottle of alcohol can take away the pain. It may dull it a little, but then it all starts again. Only holiness, only prayer, only spiritual life. And God can look different, you see, not necessarily only in the church. For children, for example, God is something of their own, but it always means something positive. When someone tells you something positive, then everything will be fine for you. You might say, well, I've heard this before. Don't approach it that way. You see, if someone tells you something positive, it means there is God in it. For children, it looks one way, and for adults, another. Some understand it more, some less. But this is what a person should strive for. That's why there are 3 aspects of positivity. The first aspect gives a person a good mood, joyfulness, health, vitality, good productivity, and an easy perception of the world. That's nature. The first aspect of God. And in nature, you need to move, do something. If you stand there frozen, you won't feel nature. Movement is needed, austerity is in nature, exercise, movement, and with joy. Understand, you must worship nature. This is an aspect of God. And one should worship nature only through movement and joy. You need to forget everything. Forget your work and just move in nature. You understand? This means serving nature. During this time, you receive the energy of God into yourself if you have a good mood, vitality. The ability to give birth in women immediately emerges. They look for ways to give birth. There's IVF and so on. The ability to give birth is simply the energy of nature. It enters the body and you can give birth as much as you want. If, for instance, you can't carry a child, you lack the energy of nature. Right now, I tell all my female acquaintances who are pregnant, every single one of them, to walk as much as possible every day. Well, not as much as possible. At least walk for an hour and a half a day. Walk, because when you walk, you infuse yourself with the energy of nature. And why is there all this morning sickness, sluggishness, and bad mood during pregnancy? It's just one issue. The problem is that the baby lacks the strength to grow. And these strengths are generated when the woman is moving. She walks, and strength is generated. So, raise your hand, pregnant women who started walking and felt better. Well done. Set an example for all the other lazy ones. The second aspect of God's energy is that God Himself acts. He improves your family life. It will become easier for you. Even with this fool, yes, it will become easier with him, right with him. That's my guarantee to you. I've been around for a long time, seen many people, witnessed many destinies. My guarantee to you, it will become easier with him if you take a step towards friendship. Remember, besides a mentor, God, or an icon, there is another force that eases a person's life. Good people. Seek out good people. They exist, but they are few. You might ask, why don't I see other people around? Because they are also representatives of God. This is called friends. So it's very important to seek friends. Friends are only those who work on themselves. They are the ones who strive for God, who develop as individuals. People obsessed with work, with their own affairs, can't be friends, because friendship is a selfless thing, you understand? If you have a selfish disposition, you cannot be selfless. There's the weekend friendship, you understand? When we are together, we work together, go somewhere, have some drinks, dance and sing. That's not real friendship, it's using the energy of friendship for personal purposes. Friendship means that you simply go and give yourself to the person. You do something good for them, that's friendship. But this kind of friendship is possible if you have the inner strength for it. So you see, look for friends. Friends are not senior people. They are equal to you. They are just like you, those who are on a path towards God. But if you find yourself a friend isn't someone of the opposite gender. It's someone of the same gender as you. If you're a woman, then a friend is a woman. If you're a man, then a friend is a man. If you find a friend of the opposite gender, that's not a friend. That's your destroyer. This is a force that can destroy your life, because through this force, a malevolent fate enters. Let's say a woman has a friend. She might say, Oleg Gennadievich, you see, there's nothing wrong between us. We just communicate. I understand. I'm not claiming there's some other truth. Just understand that if you interact with a man as a friend, you see, when you interact with another man as a friend, not your husband, it means that through this opening, someone will enter your life who will tear you away from your family. Similarly, if a man has a woman friend, she's not his wife, just a friend with whom he interacts as a friend. Friendly, close relationship. She may not become your wife, maybe yes. But through her, another person will enter your life who will tear you away from your family. Because if there's an opening, someone will definitely crawl through it. A sacred place is never empty. A man can have only one woman as a friend. That's his wife. A woman can have only one man as a friend. That's her husband. Can a brother or sister be a friend? To some extent, yes, but not too closely. To some extent. If it's too close, it can disrupt the close relationship with the husband or wife. And everyone knows this. It happens. People feel it and fear it. A close person starts to fear. Jealousy means fear. What's happening to you? Danger. There's a danger. So for a woman, a close person is another woman. For a man, it's another man. Who is a close person? A close person is not someone who says, yes, your husband is a jerk. Let's dump him. You understand? That's not a friend. A friend is someone who treats you kindly, but they also gently and carefully tell you the truth. And the truth, my dear friends, always has a bitter taste. It's bitter at first, then sweet. Lies are sweet at first, then bitter. You leave your husband, or then you suffer. How do you make friends? Children know this, adults have forgotten. You just need to try to get detached from yourself if you want friendship. And why do you need friendship? Friendship is needed to make your life easier. When a friend simply appears, or that's it, you already feel better. You understand? This depth of family life suffering is already 20, 30, 40, 50% less simply because there is a friend. These are also close relationships, but they have the nature of grace. It is God's grace that flows through these relationships. So God's grace flows through nature, which we have forgotten. It gives you a good mood, vitality. If everything is going wrong and you're in a bad mood, you lack the energy of nature. I have no energy to do anything in this Kiev. You lack the energy of nature. I can't stand anyone at all. I'm very sensitive. You lack the energy of nature. I'd kill them all. You lack the energy of nature. It's all one topic, you understand? People lack the energy of nature. Oleg Gennadievich, what does nature have to do with it? It means it's a bad character. No, it's not a bad character. I'll easily prove it to you now. Now look, let's say you have a small child. Well, suppose if they cry and want to eat, you'll understand that quickly. You'll feed them. If they cry and want to sleep, you'll understand that quickly. If they cry and their diaper is put on incorrectly, you'll understand that quickly. But there's one thing when they cry and you don't know what they want. I know for sure. I'll tell you exactly what they want. If they cry and you don't know what they want. They want to go outside. If you take them outside, what happens? They become happy because God has given them the natural ability to love nature. They love it naturally because they are still little and silly. Not like us. You see, only the silly and the little ones can live naturally. You understand? For example, a cow, it sniffs first and then it eats. Because to eat something, you have to smell it first. And if you don't like the smell of something you're eating, it means it's not suitable for you. And if it smells bad, it means there is bacteria, poison, or something else. It means you shouldn't eat it at all. But we first eat and then smell. Why? Because we are too smart. We perceive food based on our memory. We think, this should taste good. Well, smell it first. Maybe it's not what you think. A cow smells it right away. I've tried it. If you close her nose, she won't eat. I close her nose, she doesn't eat. I open it, a cow eats. Close it, she doesn't eat. That's it, because that it's a cow. We're too clever, you see, to go out into nature. No time, Oleg Gennadievich. Well then, don't be surprised if you get angry and argue with each other. Because when a child cries, shouts, "Hey!" Are they bad or not? No. When you take them outside, good, right? Why are they good? Because they are filled with nature. So, you see, if your husband or wife is shouting, they are still good. And the only thing you need to do for them is to fill them with nature. Even though I know this, I'm always amazed. How a wife becomes good just by filling herself with nature. So today, when we arrived from Minsk, they organized a sauna in the nature for us. And my wife was laughing there like a bell, constantly, non-stop, because she was filled with the energy of nature. Well, I haven't heard such laughter for a long time. Awesome. It's just the energy of nature. Oh, how wonderful it is here. Oh, how wonderful it is here. She was ringing like that next to me. She has such a voice, so clear and melodious. By the way, she will be giving a lecture to women. She doesn't lecture to men at all. There will be a commercial break now. She also sings beautiful songs. It's an ancient prayer about God. Vedic. No, you can't download it. It's just being compiled into an album for now. I'm giving you an exclusive sneak peek. I need to turn it off. She overshadowed me. It was a hidden advertisement. So children know what friendship is. Friendship is such a force that makes life easier. Just like nature makes life easier. If you feel powerlessness, there are different types of powerlessness. For example, you cannot prove or explain anything to a loved one. You cannot understand them, accept them, which means you have no friendship. If you cannot tolerate a person, you take offense at them, get angry, you find them unbearable, this means that you lack nature. Have you understood what I'm talking about? If you feel powerless in front of a loved one, you cannot correct them in any way, you cannot explain or prove something, then you lack friendship. If you had a friendship, you would understand what I'm talking about. Raise your hand. Who has friendship? And who does friendship help change a loved one? I'll now explain to you how this happens. Let's say you encountered a difficulty, a loved one discouraged you. That is, fate came to you through a loved one. Next, you call your friend. You tell her everything. She answers you something. She simply fills you with strength, and that's all. This is a real friend. She talks to you, reassures you. Yes, your husband is normal. Everyone has the same. And that's it. And you calm down. What did she do? She changes your destiny. Because you are facing your fate. You regained your strength with a friend and again joyfully returned to your husband. Imagine what power it is to have such a friend. Because fate takes away the correct perception. That is, fate makes you think it's impossible to live with this person. And after you've regained your strength in communication with your friend, you realize that it's possible. But in order to have friends, you need to learn to give your heart to good people. Learn to be friends. This is very important. Start with this, because then, as a gift, God will give you a person who will facilitate your contact with fate, who will always calm you down, encourage you, and give you the strength to change everything for the better. That is, if you are cheered up, it means that you are changing a loved one with your kindness. For example, if a loved one has a bad influence on you, and you, on the contrary, treat them well, that means they will be better. You will not get worse, but they will get better, because you are resisting fate. Remember, a kind attitude towards a person means resistance to fate. But it's not that they treat you badly, and you smile in response. This is called humiliation. In order to treat a person kindly, you must have strength, and strength comes from God, through good people in this case. Therefore, look for a good person, neither a psychologist nor an astrologer, but a kind person. Because a psychologist wants money from you. They want money. This means that there is no friendship there. Your friend doesn't want anything from you. A friend just wants to give you happiness, and that's all. This desire to give you happiness is not motivated by money, it is motivated by God. Why? Because God gave himself to you in the form of this person. There is a type of God's mercy called friendship. And in order to have friendship in this world, my dear friends, people do good deeds. Good deeds are needed for friendship. I can't hear anything, no sound is heard. There is a phrase in a song, hurry to do good deeds. Maybe this song will be turned on. Do you understand what friendship is? The child sings to you. Friendship is the energy of God, but you have to sacrifice something for it. If you don't want to do anything to anyone, then you will be doomed to a failure in your life, to a failure. It means that you will not believe in this world. You won't believe in people, you won't believe in anything good, you won't have anything good left in this world. Why? Because you have no friends. The reason is this. You will be disappointed in everything. Everything will be bad for you. Why? Because you don't have the internal desire, knowledge, or ability to start simply giving people something good. Do good. It is the power which makes life easier. You say, how can I improve my relationship with my husband? There's no way you'll get it right. This is your destiny, and it will extinguish you. Then what should we do with it? We need a force that will ease this fate. This power comes through friendship. If you have a friend will not leave you in trouble, will not ask too much. This is the definition of what a friend is. What happens if a person doesn't have a friend? It can be very bad in life. Imagine the sun is rising, people are rushing somewhere. And you are de-energized because there is no friend, no power to inspire you. This naturally leads to powerlessness. And you won't feel the sun, you won't feel good people. Even if everything goes well in your life, everything will be great in life, but there will be no happiness. Because close relationships take strength from a person instead of giving strength. Work takes energy, the TV doesn't give energy either, it just distracts. Children take away strength, husband takes away strength, wife takes away strength. Only friends, nature, and God give strength. These are just different types of force. The power that makes it possible to see that everything is good in this world is friendship. When you don't want to scold anyone, when you want to move on with your life, when you feel that there is a shoulder you can lean on, that's friendship. People think this is how a husband should be. No, it's friendship that does that, my dear friends. Friendship. Your husband can also become someone to rely on, but this means that you have already overcome your fate, and fate gives you happiness. Happiness with a loved one exists in this world only when you have overcome fate. If you win, be happy, that's it. But until you win, you will suffer. Until that time, you have to live somehow. And this requires friendship. But if you don't have friendship, now you will hear a diagnosis. This song is a diagnosis. Everything will be fine around and nothing good. Well, keep on contemplating. Instead, you could do something good for someone and the sadness would immediately disappear. For example, something like this. Reading a verse. He helped a friend get a job, took his wife to the theater on Saturday night, fed stray dogs by the house, smiled at a passerby on the street just like that. Gave a seat in the metro, helped an elderly person, and explained to a tourist how to find the Moscow River. Went to the store and relieved his mom of a heavy burden. It's because he's a good man. Who is a good person? It is someone who strives to be a friend. You see, this is what a person should strive for, because this aspiration allows a person to live. A life of friendship means a different life. To befriend or to serve. In Russian language, these words originate from the word to live. Serving means obeying. It leads to life changes. Another life is coming. So, you have your life, and you seem to be alive and well. Where did the sadness come from? My dear friends, depression is not a phenomenon of a special state of mind in which genes act inappropriately. Depression simply means one thing: a lack of friends. If a person learns to do good deeds, God will surely reward them over time. First, you perform good deeds. What are good deeds? Well, feed the birds. Set up a birdhouse and feed the birds. Arrange flower beds near your home. Plant flowers so that everyone can walk by and enjoy them. Plant some flowers in the building you live in. Put a little cup there. When you pass by, pour some water in it, so that people can water the flowers when they see them getting dry. Thus, relationships that can destroy suffering are gradually formed between people. Such an atmosphere will be created in the building you live in that when you enter it, you will feel, oh, how nice. Your neighbors will also start to like you. It may not be friendship exactly, but it's a step towards it. The time comes when God definitely gives you someone who will bring you happiness in this relationship. Raise your hand if you've realized this very well in your life. For all the others, you should strive for this. Now, for those who raised their hands, do you agree that it greatly eases life? You agree. That's great. So, relationships are a very important thing in our lives, and we must handle them with great care. And you need to be the most cautious with family relationships, because they drain a person of all their strength. This is where we take our exams. We rely on these relationships the most in life. And can they bring happiness later on? Very great happiness. When and how, we don't know. However, you can guess by what you see in other people. For instance, someone approached me and said, I live a righteous life, I pray, and I have an answer to the question I will ask you. But this answer is very hard to comprehend, so I want to hear your opinion. I've lived a happy life. I have a wife and 2 children. They are saints. We lived in constant prayer. We never argued. Everything was great for us. First, one child passed away, then the other, and then my wife. Why did God do all this? I told him that God did all this so that you could feel the purity of these people more deeply, appreciate these people as they deserve. And so that in your next life, you would meet them in heaven, where they are already waiting for you, and continue your relationship with them. This person replied, "I knew it, Oleg Gennadievich, thank you." It was an amazing response. An amazing response for me, because in this response, I found confirmation that family relationships have a very deep nature. It's truly possible to be together in your next life and be genuinely happy. Or maybe even in this life, but for that you need to work on it. And sometimes the cost can be heavy, you understand? Heavy, even if everything is going well for you. Because that's the way this world works. We must pass our exams, my dear friends. How to pass exams? By brave conduct. Bravery means the ability to love, to be kind, and to be joyful in the midst of chaos and suffering. That's what bravery means. And the ability to be kind and joyful amid chaos signifies the presence of God in your heart. If you want to carry God in your heart, He already resides there. Just if you want God to live there joyfully, to be manifested, then do it like in this song. The song goes, "Where is happiness? Here it is. Hello, good man. Look in my window." Chorus, "Look at that. On my window I'm painting this world where there's no evil and no sorrow. Look at it. There will be this world where good always reigns. The world that I need. I'm painting a new world. Let my brush never dry. I'm painting a new world. Hey, passerby, turn around. If there's anything you've ever wanted to change this life, paint in your window the world as it should be." And I believe that when each one will take up a brush from our windows, kindness will enter the real world, and a long age will come without resentment and tears in our eyes. Where are you, good man? It's all in your hands. Addressing the sound engineer regarding sound settings. So this is our challenging destiny, and today we are overcoming it joyfully, believing that everything will be fine. We draw strength from each other, from friendship, right? As soon as we unite in friendship, everything becomes great for us. So you see, destiny holds on to you. It makes everything more and more painful. You can't even sleep anymore. You think about your life, your relationships. If you live like this, it will only get worse. What to do? You need to do two things. First, go outside. When sadness sets in, you might think, why not go for a walk? There's no one to share it with. You should embrace nature at such times, wish happiness to everyone, and keep moving, keep walking, and so on. This will give you the strength to live. The strength to live comes from nature. If you're heading somewhere, it's better to go to your friend's place, because they are a representative of God in your life. What do I mean by a representative of God? Someone who alleviates suffering. If you want to alleviate suffering, go to your friend. And if you don't have a friend, then go and do good deeds. Smile at everyone. Wish happiness to all. There's a club called Goodness where they teach friendship. They thaw out all the frozen hearts there. You understand? In the Blagost Club, they thaw out, you understand? They make little candies to distribute during lectures, little flowers. They go somewhere, feed someone, wish happiness to all, rejoice in life. At first it might seem unnatural, but eventually it becomes quite natural, you understand? Gradually you get this feeling of how to live right, you understand? It's not just the Blagost Club. There are plenty of temples, monasteries with communities of religious people. If everything there works correctly, they have a similar mindset. Maybe they don't talk about it, but they live that way. There are many such places filled with God's presence. They don't necessarily know that this divine feeling exists. There are even groups where everyone is joyful. They congratulate each other on birthdays and so on. You see, work as one earns money there. So work can be challenging too. Friendship, of course, can also exist at home. Husband and wife, sometimes they become friends with each other. Well, that's a different situation. These people don't need my lectures. If they are friends with each other, don't dwell on children, worries or tasks, but they are truly friends. It means they bring joy to each other, care for one another, tolerate each other, and don't pay attention to quirks. It means that these people no longer need my lectures. It means they are already happy in their married life. Friendship between a husband and a wife can be even stronger than friendship between girlfriends, you understand? It's called heartwarming friendship. This type of friendship is quite profound and always based on people's journey towards God. That's why this friendship between a husband and a wife is often compared to how swans interact with each other. It's called swan fidelity. You might wonder why swans. Let me explain. Swans are considered pure birds. I didn't invent this symbolism. There's a word, Paramahamsa. Hamsa means swan in Sanskrit, and Paramahamsa represents the highest manifestation of holiness in a person. Param signifies the swan's highest qualities. What are the qualities of a swan? It's purity. In your family relationship, if you want swan fidelity, if you want that kind of life, it's all quite simple. For this you must learn to see in your close one what you saw from the very beginning when God first showed them to you. The speaker sings, "My first love on earth, the morning of my eyes. I don't really know you yet, seeing you for the first time, and the sky shines above me at the confluence of rivers." And it already feels like spring, the first snow is melting. And it's as if a bridge is set, and as if suddenly the day is connected with tomorrow and the past by the meeting of our hands. And our two paths already merge into one on the road. There will be many good days in my destiny. This is what a person sees at the moment of first meeting. They see a lie? No, the truth. However, between what they see and where they stand, there is life. Life means toughness. They see the ultimate result of their life if they live right. That's the point. There will be many good days if you live for God. So, swans being completely white signifies purity. You see the absolute purity in a close person, you have the strength for it. Purity means seeing good qualities in them. You don't want to see anything else at all, only the good. And you strive for it. Oleg Gennadievich, there's nothing good in him. No, it can't be so. We are all souls, you understand? There is good, you just don't see it. Why don't you see it? Destiny doesn't allow it. It torments you saying, look at the bed in him, that's the most important thing for you. He doesn't bring in money from work. Think about this, and that's it. Don't think about anything else. That's how destiny acts. And you look at the good, even if he doesn't bring in money, even if he smokes, even if he's rude. Still, look at the good in him. This is called swan-like fidelity. Fidelity doesn't mean two cockroaches crawling together. Fidelity means pure swans swimming together. You understand? If you live together like cockroaches all your life, that's not fidelity. Fidelity means not seeing the bad. You understand? You swim together. Pure swans mean there is bad, but you don't see it. You try not to see it. That's the divine approach to life. You might say, I'm offering you an illusion. Yeah, I'm not offering anything. I'm talking about how to overcome destiny. For example, if a person drinks and you are capable of maintaining yourself and seeing the good in them, you meet him when he is a bit tipsy and say, come in, my tipsy friend. I'm glad to see you. You see the positive in him at that moment, but don't deny that he is drunk. You say, my dear, let's take off your pants because otherwise the whole house will stink. It's easier for me to wash them rather than the entire house. Remove them carefully because they're not just wet, my beloved. And the next day he will repent. Because you gave him love, despite the terrible suffering he caused you. If you can do that, then you will see in his eyes what I'm talking about. He will regret his actions. It means that you have the strength to act this way. Because whenever you deal with destiny, and this is your destiny because in your past life, you came as a man to your wife. And now you're experiencing the same things in this life. You understand? Don't think you're receiving something that's not yours. It's all yours. You've embraced your destiny. Destiny can be tough. You've accepted it. My dear destiny, come in. It was difficult inside, but you prayed. You have friends. You spent time in nature. All of this was possible because you were filling yourself with positivity. Living the right way means filling yourself up even when you feel drained. You keep replenishing yourself anew. You might say, Oleg Gennadievich, it's easy for you to say it with such a wife. My friends, I don't even see my wife. I see you. I live on airplanes. So, once I put on knitted slippers in an airplane, which the listeners of my lectures had made for me, they knitted these woolen socks for me to make my feet comfortable on the plane. There are also insoles underneath. I put them on. The woman next to me said, "Why are you wearing this? It's just an hour flight." I said, "When you come home, do you change your shoes or not?" I said, "I've come home." She started laughing. So fate can torment a person, cause them pain, make them very upset, become gloomy, unhappy, and thus destroy their life. But you can go to nature, go to good people, go to God. Tune in to doing good deeds. And what attitude should you take towards your husband? What attitude, my dears? It's not a superficial attitude like with a tipsy person. Oleg Gennadievich, have you ever dealt with someone tipsy? I, my dears, have dealt with tipsy individuals. I won't go into details. It's all part of my childhood. You see, I've dealt with it. I'm telling you how to overcome all of this, you understand? If fate has saddened you by what you've witnessed, there needs to be some strength for you to be able to look at it differently. What kind of perspective is that? The Vedas explain it. You see, fate makes suffering seem like an ocean in your heart. And you can't even sleep because of these sufferings. And life doesn't seem dear to you. But if you fill yourself with God, become rich in that way, then in this case, these sufferings become like a puddle from a calf's hoof for you. Not an ocean. Have you seen a calf's hoof? Very small. And it leaves impressions when it walks through the mud. These puddles are formed like this, small ones. This comparison is deliberately given to understand the difference between an ocean and this little puddle. The difference lies in the fact that a person gains the ability to take a light approach to this drunkard. So that's why there is such talk. Why this talk? Because you have the ability, thanks to being filled with God, to have a light style. This light style, you see, is not superficiality. It's not that you're stupid and don't understand what kind of life you have. It's a victory over destiny. Imagine a person comes along, a murderer, right? The murderer comes to someone and says, I'm a murderer. And the person says, come on in. Is he foolish? No. It means that his inner strength is stronger than the murderer's. This murderer will love and respect him. Never harm him, never do anything bad to him. Why? Because this person has conquered death with such behavior. You see, a diplomat, for instance, if endowed with such strength, deals with a country that wants to destroy him. But he behaves kindly and preserves peace. You see, there are no deaths, people don't perish. Can you imagine what kind of power that is? It's the power of God. Divine power, this gentle approach in relationships. Oh, it's not a game, you know? It's victory. Now, let's say your husband offends you and you respond to him like, yes, yes, my dear. Not artificially. Artificially means humiliation. But when it's genuinely filled with kindness, you don't pay attention, you behave kindly. Is this superficiality? No, it's victory. It means he will change because he declared war on you. Your destiny through his heart declared war on you and how to win this war. And you feel good despite what he does to you. This means you are stronger than destiny. Have you remembered that? This comes from friends, from nature, from the temple. A light style of relationships doesn't mean being dull, weak, or superficial. It means victory. Remember what relationships between a husband and a wife look like when they are associated with victory or the happiness of family life. These aren't relationships that leave a person greatly surprised. For example, the wife might say, ooh, well, she's expressing her feminine emotions. And the husband might respond, what's that all about? These are not the kind of relationships I'm talking about. These are relationships in which he didn't react at all, didn't pay attention. Although men are often hurt by women's emotions, it always has been and always will be. So he has the strength, you see, not to pay attention, and he knows that this is how he should behave. And should he say to his wife, "Why are you complaining?" You understand. And he says it very kindly, as if she's not complaining at all. And she approaches him and says, "Am I misbehaving, right?" And he says, "No, it's perfectly fine." Even though she's misbehaving, and he knows it. But if she didn't know he would respond like that, she would never approach. Try to understand this. A light style of relationships is not easy at all. It's just a way to preserve love, because love can only exist in a light energy, where truth stands lower than relationships. If your truth as a woman is sensitivity, being easily offended, feeling like you're not understood, not respected, not valued, not loved, not cared for, and if it stands above love or relationships, then there won't be any relationships, and there won't be love either. You'll constantly try to prove to your husband that he's wrong towards you, that he offended and insulted you. He doesn't appreciate you, doesn't love you, doesn't respect you, and behaves sloppily. Everything is bad, nothing good. This isn't love. Love means that you see all of this, you know all of this, but you talk about it in a very light style, in a playful manner. "You're a mess, my dear, let's go eat. If you get all dirty, I'll definitely clean you up." "But that shirt from yesterday is impossible to clean now, let's go, it just won't come clean, because you got yourself so dirty, it's a special kind of dirt that won't come out." "What? My shirt? Yeah, it's all fine, don't worry, we'll bleach it." A light style, right? See, there's education happening. The person realized that he shouldn't get all dirty during meals. Why did they realize this? Because a light style was used with them. And this light style means that fate has been conquered. It only signifies that, nothing more. You see, it's not about proving the plain truth to your wife or husband, but about being filled, getting distracted. You see, that's what fate does. It makes you think, look what a pain in the neck we've got here. Let's tell him right now how to behave with women. That's how fate works. But what should you do? You should go into nature, take a breath, call a friend, pray to God, and go like la 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 la. If you can. If you can't, at least like this. Sing sadly, la 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 la. At least like that. Just try somehow. But if it's boo boo boo, then a quarrel is starting. Fate wanted that. It wanted a quarrel. If a person didn't quarrel, you might say, what's the use? Will it be the same? It won't be the same. Because if you apply kindness, knowledge seeps into a person through kindness. You see, he applied anger and you applied kindness. This means that he won't be able to apply anger in the future in the same way as he does now. Because through kindness, knowledge penetrates his heart. Your knowledge about relationships, about how to love each other correctly, your knowledge will reach his heart and triumph. Because knowledge always prevails, but only through kindness. If you try to prove the truth to him, saying, go listen to the lectures, fool, see what he's saying. Even though he came from Russia, he speaks wisely. It won't help you, this knowledge, because you won't force him to listen or change in any way. However, if you don't try to prove anything and simply behave kindly, this kindness, this knowledge you have in your heart, will seep into his heart unnoticed. Next time, he won't be able to behave so arrogantly because you are stronger and that's it. Ultimately, your destiny works through him. And if you accept your destiny, not only you accept it, but you also handle it kindly, then destiny will also treat you kindly. Remember, no matter what a person does for God, God will always do the same for them. It's written in the sacred scriptures, and destiny is in fact the energy of God. If you treat your destiny kindly, then it too starts behaving similarly, and that's it. But you need to somehow process this chaos. That's where you will need strength, my dear friends. My conclusion about human life is this: most people suffer on this earth because they lack strength. I found this conclusion in the sacred scriptures, which state that in our era, the main problem of people is that they are disempowered, and with each passing day, this powerlessness grows more and more, with less natural energy. You see, we're building everything up. We have less friendship. Look at us, living in our cars. We lack real relationships. Take, for example, 150 years ago. The speaker sings, "I'll go outside. Look at the village. The girls are out having fun, and I'm happy." Isn't that right? But now, if you go outside, are the girls out having fun? No. Are there folk songs playing? No. Do people smile at each other, dance in circles? No. Everyone's in their cars. Everyone is strangers to each other. In the past, when people gathered in such halls, they greeted each other, they all knew each other, they would meet on the streets, cross paths in life somehow. We are all alone now. We have no friends. We live in television, in computer, in virtual reality, exchanging messages with each other, not seeing or feeling each other. Everything is very superficial. That is, life separates us from God, from friends, from nature. Who lives in nature now? Almost no one lives there. You can't communicate with friends because there are two ways to gain strength. One is called love and the other is power. So let's say you listen to lectures. Does love get transmitted? Yes, but power? No. No, my dear friends, power can only be transmitted in person. You understand? So you shouldn't meet with a photograph, but with a live person. Because the main problem of our lives is that we are deprived of power. Do you think we lack love? We don't lack it, but we can't accept it because we don't have the strength for it. Strength is transmitted through live relationships. Meet with each other, communicate, give each other gifts, meet, communicate, at least call each other. Well, live, real contact is needed. You understand? Real contact is needed.
Who among you has listened to my lectures, listened, and came to meet in person for the first time? Is there a difference or not? Yes. Lecturer, what's the difference? The power. Lecturer, the power. The person is real, right? Is that so? Yes.
Let's explore relationships. We're talking about relationships. Relationships are the power that can change a person's life. It can either destroy or enrich, because relationships highlight the part of destiny to which you are tied. If you are bound to suffering in relationships, then your life will be filled with suffering. If you are bound to happiness in relationships, then you will live in happiness. And what is the sign of being bound to happiness in relationships? It's a person's light-hearted style, a light style. For example, if your wife leaves you, right? Your wife leaves you, so what should you do? Most people usually complain. But there is a way to overcome destiny. For that, You need to choose a light-hearted style. You see, when a person doesn't get disheartened, typically when you leave your wife, who is mostly to blame? Well, of course, your mother-in-law, or rather, your wife left you. That is, she took her away from you, right? Well, you overcome everything, forgive everything, and then you go to your mother-in-law, right? It's tough, really. Lecturer sings, "My wife left me, that's when my wife left me for good." How much I've sweated over losses in life, how much I've sweated, and now. Listen, dear mother-in-law, help me. By law, we're not enemies. But in truth, let's say we're family. You're almost like a second mother to me. You see, this is victory over destiny. The person sweated over losses and went to his mother-in-law. Cool, right? This kind of behavior. You see, this person really conquers destiny. Let her kick him out, do whatever she wants, it doesn't matter. You can even sit at her doorstep and not leave. This is the behavior of a normal person. This is a very light style, but this style conquers destiny. Imagine this. One woman told me one thing, and I was simply amazed. She told me how she saved her family when their relationship was falling apart, and her husband just took her by the hand and started to throw her out of the house. She held onto the door frame with her hands and feet and didn't let herself be thrown out of the house. She didn't allow him to do it. He started shouting at her to leave and tried to throw her out in various ways, but she didn't get thrown out. And then he realized how much she loved him. It dawned on him, and he stopped trying to throw her out. And from that moment on, their relationship began to improve. Can you imagine how it looks when she doesn't get thrown out? Women might say, "Oleg Gennadievich, that's going too far." This is what victory over destiny looks like. He simply lost faith that he could throw her out, and out of powerlessness, sat down on the couch and started looking at her. He realized that she loved him. As a result, the knowledge that she loved him began to change his attitude toward this person. He began to understand that she was a woman with her quirks, and there was no need to pay too much attention to it. We are talking now about a light style. What is a light style? It's when you treat a person delicately. Is this delicacy sincere? No. Honestly, you might want to kill him if we're being honest, but you just handle it delicately, gently. If someone asks you, "Do you feel offended?" you should say, "No, not at all." It's a lie, but we are talking about love here, you see. Love moves in relationships where you are playing a certain game. You can believe me or not, my dear friends. I'm sharing very intimate things with you right now. Even relationships where love resides are called lila in Sanskrit. Do you know what the word lila translates to? Game. Well, in other words, love lives in a game. Actually, the marital relationship between husband and wife is a certain game. A game of what? That everything's fine, everything's cool. What's this game for? To keep the energy of love alive. You see, the energy of love cannot thrive where people dramatize every event that occurs. You see, dramatization leads to disappointment, and then there is no more love. You see, love means you don't get disappointed. You try to perceive everything lightly, everything that happens. This is my answer, young lady, to your question about what happened. I'm explaining that your way of handling relationships simply didn't allow you to cultivate love. You see, love is cultivated only in gentle, light relationships. And for that, a person must be very strong. It means leading a healthy and right way of life, drawing strength from friends, from God, from nature. Then the light style sets in, where you try not to pay attention to what fate brings you through a significant other. You might say, do I have to live in such a foolish state all my life? It's not a foolish state, my dear friends. It's a state in which a significant one changes very quickly because they see in you that you're not angry with them, that you don't blame them, that you're not against them. They will see love in you. Imagine, it's amazing to know that you're simply following the rules of relationships, this rule of the light style. And the loved one will say, thank you for your love. You see, if you allow the energy of love to flow, it will flow. Now let's look at how this light style of relationships appears in women. He light style means that she's playing something, you understand? She pretends that nothing bad is happening, but that's real love, as it turns out. See how it looks in women? It's a game, ladies, don't worry, it's just a game, you see. I'm showing you how it looks. For example, when the husband comes home from work and says, my boss, he's a total jerk. He tells her, but she knows who the jerk is. Is she foolish or what? She knows him, the asshole, inside and out. And she says to him, come in, my good man. Of course he's a goat. Come in, sit down to eat. But deep inside, she knows who the jerk is. Let me repeat, she's not a fool. She just behaves in a way that makes him feel that she loves him. And it's a fact, because during that moment when she says it, he feels that his wife understands him, loves him, and cares for him. That's exactly what a man needs in life from a woman. What seems like foolishness to you, to a man, is actually his life. What a man wants from a woman is this support that she agreed with his opinion, you know? The woman who sees through this man, who is his heart, who is his conscience, she sees all his flaws. She knows all his faults. She knows the truth, who the jerk is precisely. And she, this woman who is the very conscience of the man, says to him, yes, yes, of course, he's a jerk, come in. Undress, my dear, let's go have a meal, everything will be fine. To her, it appears as a light style, you see, because she could have easily torn him apart if she had wanted to. Because she herself is his conscience, his destiny. She knows precisely destiny who the jerk is. But she doesn't do that. She says, let's go have a meal, my dear. How does he perceive it? Like love. I'm telling you this for sure. It's how I live. It's how I do things. You see, that's how I perceive my wife.
And she's grateful to me for it. She doesn't really consider you a jerk, does she?
She doesn't consider me a jerk, really? Are you sure? Well, it's good that you're sure because you're listening to my lectures. But my wife, doesn't listen to my lectures. She lectures me. She would never tell you that I'm a jerk. She doesn't see me that way. But sometimes she really wants to think that way because there are reasons that come into her heart from my life. And these reasons are called my destiny. Don't think that I have an easy destiny. If you look at my destiny, all the planets in my destiny are aligned to break up the family. Nevertheless, it's not broken. This doesn't mean that I always had such strength. I had setbacks in my life. I never abandoned anyone, but there were setbacks. I trained myself. And now I know how to deal with my destiny, you see. But if you think that my wife doesn't get angry with me, doesn't feel hurt, doesn't get upset, or doesn't get disappointed in me, then you're in complete illusion. It's just all neutralized by a certain attitude from both my side and her side. Is it time? Well, I've intrigued you, haven't I? Until tomorrow. By the way, I want to say that I like what's happening in your country. You, as usual, don't like it, I know. But I like it. Everything is changing for the better. As I've told you, gradually, step by step, everything is improving, as it always happens in life. I'm not joking with you, even though my words may seem like a game. I won't go into detail about these things, but I feel a wind, a kind wind blowing towards your country, a kind wind. But even when there was a harsh wind, you were still by my side. I remember that. When Donetsk was in turmoil and all of Kiev was pale, I arrived during that time. Although my mother wasn't too pleased about it, and they weren't particularly thrilled to see me at customs when they saw my Russian passport. They looked at me with all the emotions they were supposed to convey. I accepted it all because a passport is just a passport. Yep. Shattered people. And on that day, I dedicated the entire lecture to prayer, even though a different topic had been announced. No one objected, no one argued. And everyone prayed fervently afterward. When I returned a month later, the situation hadn't changed, but the people had changed. They were so lively and joyful. But my friends, I'm telling you this story not to glorify you, although I am doing that as well. I'm telling you this for another reason. If anyone remembers that lecture, I asked, "Who among you felt better after prayer?" Half of the audience raised their hands. And then I asked, Who among you continues to pray after feeling better? And out of those who raised their hands, only half did. This means that we ourselves don't really want to be happy. We don't need much. As soon as it gets a bit easier, we say goodbye to prayer. My dear friends, never stop working on yourselves. Never give up. Don't fold your hands when things get easier if you want to be happy. Your city is woven from prayers. There are so many temples and holy places here. There are so many holy relics. Connect with this. What are relationships? In your city, you have many sacred places. What is a sacred place? I'll repeat it once more. 1 second of genuine connection and a person's entire destiny changes. I've told you about my life now. Just having sacred places in your city doesn't mean much, my dear friends, you understand? You need to discover them with your heart, not just visit them. When a person goes somewhere, they need to immerse themselves deeply, meaning disconnect from everything else. It's a bold step to be alone with the relics of a holy person, to forget about oneself. That's a bold step. This courage signifies service. How do you disconnect from yourself? How do you forget yourself? Well, you simply start praising this holy person. Thank you for lying here for us. You're a radiant individual. Be happy. No words about yourself. Don't ask for anything. Just praise the holy person, and in return, you will receive the same. You'll receive God's grace. We'll do this now. It's called I wish everyone happiness. I divert my attention from myself and repeat, I wish everyone happiness. We listen attentively to those who are praying. Memory takes you away from yourself. Memory should merge into the collective atmosphere. The Lord's Prayer will now be said in Aramaic. This is the language in which Jesus Christ spoke. Tune into this sound and repeat, I wish everyone happiness. There are many people here, over 600, which means the power of all these people coming together in your heart will help you. It's a unique opportunity. It's 10 minutes now, and several thousand more people to whom I spoke about my love are watching me on Instagram.
Everyone is repeating after Oleg Genadievich. I wish everyone happiness. I wish everyone happiness. I wish everyone happiness.
Желаю всем счастья. Я 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 желаю всем. Я желаю всем счастья. 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 Желаю всем счастья. Я 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 желаю всем счастье. 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 Спасибо вам большое. Я желаю вам всем счастья, любви, знания, всего самого мира, всего самого светлого в вашей жизни. Спасибо вам большое, что вы вытерпели меня все вот эти 3 часа. Спасибо. Сейчас у нас подарки.